Good morning, Westside. Hey, let's all stand and sing together. Yeah, we're gonna be singing about a new day. We lost so much this year, shattered dreams and countless tears, living day to day in so much fear, trying hard to understand as we find each other's hand. Now as one together we will stand. Are you guys ready? I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for the love to come and show us all the way. Building hope for what's in store, breaking down unopened doors. We're gonna learn to spread our wings and soar. What a world we're living in, no return to where we've been. The air is clear, we're free to breathe again. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for the love to come and show us all the way. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for the love to come and show us all the way. It's taking us to places we never thought we'd go. In the worst of situations, we found a way to grow. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for the love to come and show us all the way. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for a new day. I'm ready for the love to come and show us all the way. I'm ready for a new day. Find somebody around you, give them a hug, give them a handshake, greet them this morning, let them know that you're glad that they're here at church today. What's the next one? Give thanks to the Lord, His love endures forever. Give praise to the Lord, beside Him there's no other. Sing it again. Give thanks to the Lord, His love endures forever. Give praise to the Lord, beside Him there's no other. Sing, this is the day. This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing it again. This is the day the Lord has made. Oh, I will rejoice and be glad in it. He brought us from mourning to dancing, from glory to glory. This is the day the Lord has made. So what are we waiting for? Oh la 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 la. Come on and praise the Lord. Oh la 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 la. Hear the word of the Lord. the battle, you see my victory. When all I see is a mountain, you see a mountain move. And as I walk through the shadows, your love surrounds me. Yeah. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. So when I fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. Thank you, God. When all I see is a cross, God, you see the empty tomb. Oh, oh, oh. So when I fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. You may be seated, and welcome our host, Steve and Carly.
Hi, welcome to Westside. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. So my name is Carly, and I am the hospitality director here at Westside.
I'm Steve. I'm one of the pastors here.
And we're just going to tell you some ways to get connected and also what's coming up here at Westside. So if you are here in person, you got your green connection card. Please fill it out with as much as you feel comfortable with. But if it is your first time here, we definitely want to hear about it and want to know. Also, if you prefer online, you can download the app. It's full of great resources. You can put prayer in there. And also it tells you about next steps and things coming up. So you can download that. There's also a QR code that you can scan. But getting connected is so important. And did you know that someone had been putting me on their connection card for 1 year before I even started attending Westside?
Really?
Yeah. And then when I started attending, I found out that they had been putting me on that connection card.
We've been praying for you for a year.
Yeah. They had been praying for me for 1 year. So put anything you want down there. If it's a prayer request for yourself or just somebody that you know, definitely a great way to help others find and follow Jesus. So if you also are here in person, you can grab a copy of Sticky Faith on your way out. There's a paper copy and it is written by our very own Pastor Gabe here. And then also there is an electronic version. If you feel free to download that, you can reference that
Right
electronically. Yep.
Well, there's a few things that we want to tell you about, opportunities to connect here at Westside. First thing I want to tell you about is that growth groups, the signups are beginning today. I think growth groups are so important. They're a huge part of my story. I got back into ministry because I sat at a growth group and made friends there, was challenged there. So many of the great stories have come out of the relationships that came out of growth groups. And so I want to encourage you, you can jump in the catalog, you can look right on the app and look at all of the groups. Lots of them are organized by day and then by what they're, if there's kids space and all that kind of stuff. Pick whichever group you think you really want to jump into, and registration for them is so simple. All you have to do if you're here in person is you just put the code for that group. So if it's Sunday 01, you put the code right on the connection card. Done, taken care of. If you're online or you're on the app, you can just select the day and the group, and we'll let that group leader know that you're going to be in there. Whether that group is in person or online, we're going to get you connected in the group. Don't miss that opportunity. There are so many great groups. And
so what I'm hearing you say is invite a friend.
Invite a friend, Just sign them up. And put this. What my wife
them on
did.
there.
My wife put our name on there, my first girls group, and I was like, sorry, I'm not coming. But then I eventually came. It was good. The other thing I want you to know about, we got a couple of things, but the other thing I want you to know about is a new to Westside lunch. If you're new here or you're new-ish or you've never been to the New to Westside workshop, you should come to this workshop. Gabe and Melissa buy you lunch. You learn a little bit more about them. You learn about our church and who we are. And it kind of gives you a kickstart to your time here. You're going to walk out of there with a plan for this next year in your spiritual growth. And it's a powerful, powerful thing happening on the 17th today. So you can come to that. Let us know on the connection card if you're coming. And we'll see you there. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I just saw this post go on social media and I got so excited about it, but it is the Ignite Women's Conference. So that'll be happening on October 14th. Can't believe we're already getting towards October, but October 14th, it'll going from 2 to about 8:30 p.m. It's $35 per person. Again, bring a friend, but it's going to be a great time to just gather in community, fellowship together. Of course, there's going to be a great afternoon full of teachings, preachings, also just some testimonies, but we have to have fun. Here at Westside, we have fun. So there'll be prizes, there'll be games, there'll be dance parties. So get signed up, and you can get signed up on that connection card or on the app we talked about. And I know I'll be there, so I can't wait to see you there. And then, they'll send you an email once you sign up, and then it will give you a link how to register and pay on there. So if you have any questions, get connected. Last Sunday, we did start a new series called Raising Resilience, and it was great. Today, Pastor Gabe is going to continue on with part 2 of that. And this message is going to be how to instill that confidence, not only in yourself, but in others. So grab your notes, get ready to learn, and enjoy the message.
I saw some of you guys dancing while that video was playing. That was awesome. I got a little carried away with the other video, and I was in the back, and then I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be up there. So I ran up here, and hi. It's good to see you all. I'm excited. This is our 3rd service of the day. So congratulations. Thank you for being here. Somebody was like, That's a lot, 3 services, but you know what? I love it. I will do another one. Let's do another one. I would do this all day long, every day. I love it. I love being here with you guys. And I think we're doing important work because it's the kind of stuff that changes our own personal inner life, which changes our outer life, which changes the world, right? So that's very good. Does that make sense? Change your inner life, change your outer life, changes the world. And that's what this whole series that we're in is all about, raising resilience. If you were here last week, let me see your hand real quick. If you were here last week for the kickoff of this series, okay, I shared a definition of resilience last week. Starts with a B. Does anybody remember what it is? I made up a word. Okay. Yes! Patrick knows it. Bounce back ability. That's no fair because he's already been to the other 2 services, so he's cheating, but that's okay. Bounce back ability. At least you heard it today and you remembered it after the 2 times and plus the time last time, so it only took you 3 times. Now you remembered it. Good job. You know when somebody falls down and they get back up and they keep going and you look at them and you're like, I admire that. Like, everybody falls down. Maybe they mess up in their life. Maybe they have a financial setback. Maybe a relationship blows up, but they get back up. Don't you look at them and you go like, yes, I want to be like that. I want to be able to get back up when there's a setback. I'm discouraged. I disappoint myself. Whatever happens, that's what this series is about, is how do we raise that up in ourselves and then in other people. Last week when we started, we talked about character, how, there's different components, a recipe, so to speak, of what makes a person resilient. This is a 4-Sunday series, and I have a secret to tell you. There's actually 5 parts to resilience that I want to teach. The 5th one is going to be a special episode of our midweek podcast that's coming out in a couple weeks. But character was last week. Today we're talking about something that, just so you know, has been the biggest struggle of my life, hands down. Don't even have to think about it. Absolutely, this is the biggest struggle of my life, confidence. And I'll tell you why that is because I had the view when I was a kid that, do you know the stork? You ever heard of the stork? Like the bird that has the kid? And this is how kids get into the world. The stork delivers kids, right? Drops them off in families. I know that's not really how it works, just so you know. But in my mind, I'm like, I think the stork drops some kids off who have confidence, and then there's others of us that don't. So those lucky people got confidence, and then some of us didn't get it. And, it's like a fixed thing. This is what I'm thinking as a kid. It's like a fixed thing. It doesn't change. It's like, this is my lot in life. I'm one of the unconfident kids. But just to be honest with you, something happened to me and it changed that. And it was a very good thing. I'll talk about what happened and why it was a good thing. But I want you to see something as I share a quote. This is not in your notes. It's just a quote. I read this a long time ago and it's been very helpful to me. It's a John Maxwell quote. And he said this. He says, people change when they hurt enough that they have to, when they learn enough that they want to, and when they receive enough that they are able to. And for me, it was the 3rd one. There was a point in my life, I received enough that I was able to make a shift in this. And my mindset changed, and there was a ripple effect that was really, really, really good for me. And it's really, really good for my wife. And it's been really, really good for my kids. And it's been good for our church and anyone I know. Because what I've learned is that when you get better, it's better for everybody. It's better for everybody in your life. And it's always a choice. There's this time of awareness when the light bulb has to come on. And that's probably why I would do 10 services on a Sunday. Because you know what I get to see? Bing, 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 bing. And I'm watching this, I'm like, yes. Because then I get to see it happen in your life, and it's thrilling. I love that. When I was a kid, I was the awkward kid. And some of you are like, well, not much has changed, has it? But I was the awkward kid. And one of the reasons why was my family, some of you have been coming for a while, you know this, we moved a lot. And And we moved 32 times by the time I was in 8th grade. And my sister is here today, and we're like, yep, we moved a lot. I know what a moving box looks like. I know what markers on the top of a moving box. I know what it's like to put your things in a box again. You know? And for me, I didn't mind the adventure of it. I like change. I was on 6 airplanes this week, gone 6 days, back last night at midnight, up at 5:30 this morning for this. I love it. I like adventure. I liked the new house. There's a lot of new house. I liked the new house. I liked the new street, you know? I liked the new adventures. I did not like the new school all the time, you know? And that was the hard part for me, the new school. And here's why, because you show up again as the stranger. Everyone's got their friends, their routines. They know what's up, you know? And there is this weird thing that happens. And when you're on the receiving end of this, you got to figure out how to get past it. And I just really struggled with it. So I remember this time, we had moved to the Portland area when I was going into 8th grade, and we were living in Canby, Oregon. Anyone online know where Canby is? If so, say yes. You can say yes in here. Canby, Oregon. Maybe some of you are in Canby right now watching this online. I love Canby, Oregon. Lived there for 4 years. My 8th grade year, I was at Ackerman Junior High School. They called it junior high back then. Now they call it middle school. It was junior high school. And it was a bigger school than I had been to. It was a pretty big school. There was a lot of kids, and there was a lot of what I would consider to be people who were the kind that got dropped off by the stork. They had the confidence, right? They were those kids. And then I had figured out how to meet a couple of kids like myself that maybe didn't think we had the confidence, and we would sit, you know, in the cafeteria at a table and kind of feel like we wish we'd get invited to that table over there, but we don't know how to do it. And so after a while, we stopped caring about that, which was probably a good thing. But there was this moment when I was kind of still trying to find my way into this new school. And I was in a class in the afternoon, and then we got dismissed from that class, had to walk to another class. And there was this kid named TJ, like the coolest kid at school. TJ was the cool kid, and he had and then he was surrounded by all the other cool kids, you know, but he was like the leader of the cool kids. And you've probably been in a situation where you've seen those people, and sometimes they're total jerks. This was like the really nice, really cool kid, TJ. But I didn't know how to connect with them, and I never even tried because I didn't think that was my right, I guess. So he walks up to me. I mean, I'm walking behind him from class to class. He manages to get next to me, and he puts his arm around me, and I'm like, oh no. You know, I was like, some initiation is about to happen right now. This is what I was thinking. But you know what he did? He put his arm around me, and he says these words to me. He says, you know what? I was like, what? He goes, you're okay. I am? Something like clicked for me, you know, and my parents are probably watching right now going like, we told you so many times you were okay, and then TJ, who's TJ, shows up and puts his arm around. So one little time, you're okay, you're like, oh, my life changed, you know. I know, but they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And, you know, the light bulb has to come on. And so it did, it came on for me. And something clicked, and I realized that maybe it wasn't fixed. Maybe confidence is something you could develop. And so I started trying. And I'm glad, because you know what happened after my 8th grade year? I met someone, Melissa, my wife, Melissa. And I could not, I'll tell you what, if TJ had never come into my life, TJ, thank you very much. If TJ had never come into my life, I don't think I could have had the first conversation with Melissa. But I did, and she said yes after a lot of years, and, you know, and I'm glad. It's been amazing. Did you know that 80% of kids struggle, have a decrease in their confidence when they start school? 80%, 4 out of 5 kids lose confidence when they start school. That is not good. Why is that happening? Does it need to happen? Is it necessary? Can that change? Could we start doing something differently so that 100% of kids gained confidence when they went to school? What would change? What would change? I mean, you know there's real problems attached to this. There's all the bullying. There's the result of the bullying. There's massive amounts of problems people experience. You know, something could happen to somebody in second grade. It could be a word from somebody. I know this because this happened to me. A word can be spoken, and it could sit with you for the rest of your life. And much bigger problems than that. What if all of that stuff wasn't necessary, and we could figure out how to eliminate that from the experience that our kids are having? Because, and I'm gonna keep saying this through the series, because here's what's at stake. The future president of the United States of America is being groomed right now. How much confidence are they gonna have? And if they don't have a lot of confidence, is that gonna be a good thing? No, it's gonna be a horrible thing. Can you imagine being an insecure president of the United States of America? What choices you would make? That'd be awful. You know, what about the next principal of the school? What about the next mayor of the city? What about the next person who's gonna own the business that you work for? They're being groomed right now. So how do we make sure that this goes well in 20 years? I'm pretty sure the next president of the United States is right in that room across the walkway, the kids building that we have right now. Maybe not the next president, okay, but a future there's important people over there right now. Babies, 1-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4th graders, they're there. And we have to decide, how are we grooming the next generation? Because if we're not helping them to become resilient by having character, we talked about last week, and confidence, we're talking about today, then they're gonna have a deficit. And we can get ahead of the curve on this. And I wanna talk to you today about how to do that by showing you the life of a guy in the Bible that is one of my absolute heroes. His name's David. I'm calling him today the King of Confidence. Confidence like in the right way, in the very best way. Because what we're not talking about today is arrogance. We all know arrogant people, and they are, repellent to us because they think so highly of them. We're not talking about that. We're talking about actual, real confidence, which always comes with humility. And it's always done well with love, if it's real confidence. And we can get there, but we got to understand, we need a model. I think we need a model for it. So the King of Confidence, King David wasn't always King David. He was shepherd boy David in the beginning. He was overlooked again and again and again and again for important stuff. And he kind of felt that a little bit, So he goes to his dad one day. He's like, Dad, my brothers are fighting the battle with Israel against the Philistine army, the enemy. And there's this awful giant named Goliath taunting everybody day and night. And he's like, Dad, I want to go make a difference over there. And the dad's like, you're too little, you're too young, you can take your brother's lunch. David's like, all right, it'll get me closer to the action. So he goes and he takes his brother's lunch. And he's very interested in this battle because you know what? He thinks he can actually make a difference. And so I want you to pick up the story with me in 1 Samuel 17, verse 32, where David gets to meet the king, shepherd boy David, nobody David. The Bible talks about him as a ruddy, scraggly, scrappy young man, overlooked, gets to talk to the king of Israel. And he says this in verse 32. He says, don't worry about this Philistine. He's talking about Goliath. David told Saul, I'll go fight him. I mean, think about this for a second. Short, ruddy, inexperienced David talking to King Saul, head and shoulders above all the other warriors, a trained, proven, actual warrior. King David, shepherd boy David, goes to the king, says, oh, don't worry about this Philistine. I'll go fight him. Saul replied, don't be ridiculous. There's no way you can fight this Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth. By the way, this is Goliath. The Bible tells us he was 9 feet, 9 inches tall. I mean, incredible, right? Like like I see somebody who's like 5'10", and I'm like, wow. I can't even imagine this picture. Verse 34 says, but David persisted. I've been taking care of my father's sheep and goats. I think this is so funny how he gets into this. He's like trying to prove that he could make a difference. It's like, oh, you don't understand. I've been taking care of my father's sheep and goats. Oh, okay. Well, then go, But he goes on. He said, when a lion or bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, listen, when a lion or bear comes to steal a sheep or a goat from the flock, or a lamb from the flock. He doesn't say if this were to happen, here's what he says. No, when this has happened, he goes, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. What? I mean, this kid's got confidence. He says, if the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. I mean, I think he's got King Saul's attention now. You know, he's not just saying, I have done this. He did say that in verse 36. He said, I have done this to both lions and bears. I mean, this is real. And he said, I'll do it to this pagan Philistine too. 4, he has defied the armies of the living God. Wow. I mean, he's going like, let me at him, let me at him. And here's what I hope my kids have, and I hope your kids have, and I hope all the kids in the whole world have. This kind of grit. It's called confidence. It builds resilience. It means they will bounce back when they face a battle, when they fall down, when there's an enemy. They're not gonna cower. I mean, somebody said yesterday, I was in a conference. I just got back from Austin, Texas last night at midnight in a conference, and somebody said, people think life is getting easier. But they said, but here's the thing, real leadership is needed more now than ever in our entire history of humanity. Real leadership. Not letting AI do all your work for you. Real leadership. AI cannot make you confident. AI cannot give you character. You have to do that work yourself. And they were saying, you've got to step up and be the person that you need to be in this place. And that's what confidence is. David said in verse 37, the Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine. Saul finally consented. All right, go ahead, he said. So he's like, I'm convinced. And may the Lord be with you, he said. Because I ain't going with you. I think that's what Saul meant. Because you go. We'll see how that goes. I'm not going to be there. May God be with you, you know? What a coward. David showed him how to be a real man in that moment. And I got to be honest, like to me, one of the things that I love about being here is that I have a wonderful mentor named Pastor Ken. And I probably sound like a broken record, but I think the world of this man. I mean, he has been such a great example to me. He's given me so many wonderful lessons and a model. Kind of like, I mean, I kind of see him. He's been kind of like a David in my life. I see a challenge come his way. He grabs that club and he, you know, and I want to be like that. And when I was first on staff here, way back in the year 2000, he was celebrating his 25th year as the pastor of this church. And this was before I was the pastor. I became the pastor in 2007, but 7 years before that, he was celebrating his 25th year, and we threw him a big party. And we wrote down, we made this little platform. It's like this cool thing sits on his desk. And it has a verse on it. And it's from Psalm 72. And it's about, it's Psalm 78, excuse me, but it's about David. And it's kind of a callback to David. It says, he cared for them, Israel, with a true heart and led them with skillful hands. And I think to myself, what if Pastor Ken had never gotten confidence? I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here today. What if whoever invested in you had never gotten confidence? What if King David had never gotten confidence? What if there was no David kills Goliath story? I mean, we might not actually be here today. We might have given up a long time ago because we need those examples, right? So the point I'm trying to make is we have to be people of confidence, and we have to cultivate people of confidence all around us, because this world will not make it if we don't have more people with resilience. It's gonna fall apart if people don't step up with resilience. I mean, think about your workplace without resilience. Think about your family without resilience. Think about your neighborhood, the people that you see all the time. I mean, we need resilience, and it has to be developed and cultivated. I'm grateful that our kids, my wife has been such a champion for this, and our kids have grown up in a place, in a way, where despite my early deficit in this area, no fault of my parents, and no way do I ever blame anyone else for that, because they were always my champion. But my wife has just been so good at this that our kids grew up with a lot of confidence. And sometimes, sometimes I'm like, can you dial it down a little bit right now? There's a lot of ideas flowing. There's a lot of will happening here. But strong-willed children are gonna make it. And we just have to be able to help to coach that. So I wanna give you the equation for okay, if we know we need to do this, then how do we do it? And here's the equation. We're gonna do a little bit of math today. You ready for some math? Okay, it goes like this. E plus E plus E equals C. Can you say that out loud with me? E plus E plus E equals C. And so the C, I'm gonna give you that one, and then I'm just gonna, along the way, give you the E's. But the C is confidence. How do you build confidence? Well, there's 3 components to confidence. And the first one in your notes is environment. Environment, so important for confidence. If you are a confident person right now, it's because somebody thought about this for you. Somebody thought about this for you. And they should be thanked profusely. You should acknowledge them and thank them and recognize their thoughtfulness and wisdom and foresight in creating an environment in which you could develop confidence because somebody did that for you. I don't know if this is actually scientifically true, but I've heard it so many times that a goldfish will grow according to the size of its environment. So you put a goldfish in a bowl this big, and it's gonna be super small. But if you see, anybody ever seen a pond with big goldfish in it? And they keep growing apparently, to the size of their environment. Well, actually kids are the same way. All people are the same way. We will expand to the limits in which we think and feel supported and expanding. And sometimes if you feel like you're not sure how to do this confidence building thing with the young people that you're influencing, just be really aware that what's in your hands it's really important for their future. That you have some power to decide what size of bowl they're gonna live in. And that's a lot of power. So we gotta be really diligent to go, well, I'm gonna build an environment that supports confidence in their life. And so I just wanna say there's really 2 important pieces to an environment that builds confidence. The first one is logical structure. Logical structure has to be a part of an environment that we create if the young people among us are going to build confidence. They have to have a logical structure. Why am I saying that? Because the lack of structure is a killer of confidence. We think sometimes well, you've got too many things that you're trying to tell your kids what to do. It's like these absentee models of parenting where it's oh, you be the boss, kids. You decide what your bedtime is. You decide what your diet's gonna be. You decide what you're gonna wear. You decide if you're gonna go to school or not. That's the worst recipe for failure ever. And it constantly develops kids that don't have any security because kids thrive on structure, thrive on it. So what I'm saying is we need to have in our homes and in the environments where we influence young people, we need rules. I know that's a horrible word in our culture. We need rules. Kids without rules are monsters as adults. So how do we do this? I love that. Who said that? I love it. I'm gonna keep going. Yeah. Man, we could turn this church into one of those churches. I would love that. You're welcome to do that. Okay. Structure could be overdone too. We've all seen that. But here, the bare minimum, okay? There's a right and there's a wrong. We have to establish that with the young people among us. We have to establish that. There's a right and there is a wrong. Beyond that, here's the advanced one. There's a good and there's a best. And you better be able to discern the difference. So how do you teach kids that? Structure is how you teach kids that. And so popular in our culture to have no structure, but you cannot give a kid confidence unless you're willing to clarify and enforce limits. The only way. It's permission to play. If you're not willing to do that, you're not influencing kids for the best. You gotta clarify and enforce limits. I got a chance in this conference I was in to talk to some fellow parents. We were in this little round table talking about what we were grateful for. And I kept on saying, each time we got to talk about it, so I was like, it's my family. It's the season that we're in. I love it. It's so fun. And they were like, tell us more. And I said, well, because my wife and I are basically empty nesters. We got one 19-year-old at home, but he's never actually at home. And he doesn't care if we're at home. So it's beautiful. You know, we do whatever the heck we want now. It's fun. We're in this kind of almost empty nester phase. And I was like, my wife's my best friend. And the cool thing about my kids, I'm friends with all of them. And they were like, well, how's that work? I was like, well, because you start out as the caretaker. You know, you're like the nurse. You're like, oh my gosh, diapers, bottles. Oh my gosh, this is killing me. Then you move into the king or the queen, which not a lot of parents are willing to do. You got to be the king. You got to be the queen for a long season of their childhood. Then you move into the coach. 11, 12, 13 years old, you're the coach. And then you're the friend. And it's so much fun. I love it. So I was talking to this couple named Mark and Jenny, and they were like, you know, we got two boys, 5 and 7. And they said, what we're kind of struggling with right now is the structure piece. Like how much, what's too much, what's not enough. Yeah, it's a tightrope you have to walk. But I think the bare minimum, got to have a right and wrong, got to have a good and best in that structure. The second thing that we got to put in this environment is unconditional love. Unconditional love, like they got to feel it. They have to know that no matter what happens in life, that no matter what they do, I'm talking about every kid you influence. I'm not just talking to parents today. I'm talking to grandparents. I'm talking to uncles and aunts. I'm talking to older brothers and sisters. I'm talking to bus drivers. We had a bus driver at our first service today, and she came up to me after the service and she goes, you know, I didn't really see myself as an influencer of kids, but I'm a bus driver. Anybody remember your bus driver? Yeah, it's not always a great memory, is it? But she's a good bus driver and she wants to be a good influence. And that's an amazing role that she has. And what we have to do is we have to make sure they know that no matter what happens, no matter what they do or don't do, what they say or don't say, that we will love them 100%. Always, 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 unquestionably, 100% we will love them. Because if there's even a crack in that, it erodes their confidence. And listen, this is hard because sometimes the way we respond, the way we show disappointment makes them question this. You can do this, you can correct in love, and we always should. Because if you don't correct, that's not really love anyways, right? That's just wanting to be liked. That's not love. So we got to show unconditional love. You can have all the logical structure that you want, but without love, there will be no confidence. Talked to a guy yesterday named Greg at this conference in Austin, and he said his father-in-law is going through cancer. And I was like, oh, my dad's been through cancer twice. So we started talking about this. And he said that the hard part for us is that my father-in-law is a non-emotional person. He's actually a medical person. So this is all just data and stats and figures to him. And he said, so as a result, my wife is having a really hard time with this because there's no emotional connection with it at all. He said, in fact, that's kind of how she grew up, pretty detached. So he said, what we had to do when we got married was he had to decide, because they have kids too, he said, we had to decide, we are responsible to create our family values and culture. And we want it to have love that is obvious. You know, and I think that's so important. And maybe you have to do that. Maybe you're the kind of person who's going like, I didn't receive that. I don't know that. Look, I didn't have confidence figured out as a kid. I had to learn it. And sometimes you have to learn this stuff. You learn how to show unconditional love by watching somebody like Pastor Ken or like King David or like name your favorite, but find somebody that's doing what you think you need to do and copy them. I think this is really important. So environment matters so much. You know, like what's the temperature in the room that you're building for the kids that you influence? I think sometimes it's important to turn that up. Make that a confidence building environment. Second thing in your notes is encouragement. Oh man, this is where my wife really shines, encouragement. Encouragement is that picking somebody up, you know? It's like they come into your life and then you pick them up a little bit. A couple of years ago, actually it was 2018, I got to go with my oldest son, Dawson, to a concert in San Jose. Went and saw U2. And it was a great show. At a certain point in the show, Bono grabs this big light. And it was much bigger than this. I mean, it was a giant light. He grabs it and he starts swinging it back and forth. And then they turned all the lights out. Let's turn the lights out. I get to be Bono for just a second, guys. So he's doing this with this huge light all the way across the arena and back. I mean, it was giant. And he's telling the story about how he grew up. and where he grew up and what his mom died when he was 12. And his dad was kind of a rough dad. Didn't get a lot of love from his dad. Didn't get a lot of encouragement from his dad. But his mom was quite the encourager. And as he's telling about his childhood, he kind of lets the light settle. And then right beneath it, this house appears. And it was a model figure of his actual childhood house. And he talked to us about how his mom was the light in his life. And that even though she died when he was 12, she was such an encourager that he got it. It clicked. He had a TJ moment. and he knew that he could, that he was worth it. He knew that he mattered. And he knew that his life had a purpose worth exploring, and so he did. We can bring the lights back up, and my moment of glory is gone. I think that encouragement is so important, and I just wondered about you, like, who in your life has been that light to you? First, have you thanked them? Do they know? Secondly, did it work? Can you feel it, that you matter, that your life is worth pursuing your purpose and your mission, that God loves you? Can you understand that you're capable? Confidence is really this. Confidence is the belief that, it's the belief that I believe with God's help, I can figure it out. I believe with God's help, I can figure it out. That's real confidence. It's like, no, think about David for a second. He's like, hey, I will grab that club and I will smack that giant. He actually had 5 stones he took, He tried on the armor and all that stuff. He's like, give me my bag of stones. And you know why he had 5 stones? It was not because he thought he might miss 4 times. It's because Goliath had 4 brothers. That's the truth. He took enough to take down the whole family. That is confidence. I believe with God's help, I can figure it out. Do you have anyone in your life who's made you feel that way? Secondly, who are you that light for? There are kids and young people in your life who are desperate for somebody to be that light for them. Anybody. Pick up the mantle, turn on the light bulb, make sure they understand, I believe with God's help, you can figure it out. The best gift that my parents gave to me was not all the fancy clothes or the amazing lavish vacations that we took. It wasn't the beautiful mansions that we lived in. It wasn't the private jet that we flew around on. We didn't have any of that stuff. The best gift my parents gave me was a clear and sincere belief that with God's help, I can figure it out. They told me, you can. And then TJ goes, you're okay. And I'm like, oh, yes. It worked. Okay, my wife does this so well, and she does it in 3 ways for our kids and actually my wife's birthday was Monday. And on her birthday, she got so many texts and emails, not emails, because kids don't email. So many texts, Snapchat messages, DMs, and stuff from teenagers and young people who are like, I love you, happy birthday, you mean so much to me. And I'm like, geez, I barely got any on my birthday. But you know why? It's because she is forever investing encouragement in young people. That's her thing. She does it to our family too. And she does this in 3 ways I've kind of thought about it. She does it with a look, a word, and a touch. A look. She looks at people and she looks at me and she looks at our kids. And the only way I had to actually think about what is this look she gives us? You know what it is? I had to write it down. It's amazement and pride. She looks at us like she's like, and you feel it. It's like, she's given me other looks before too. But mostly she does this amazement and pride. Where like you really feel like she actually thinks that you're better than you think you are. And so what happens is you go, oh, okay. I'm gonna act better then because she thinks more of me than I think of myself. It's a beautiful thing. She does that for our kids too. She does it with a word, a social media post, just lavishes people with encouragement, cards that she writes. In my house, if you get a birthday card, when you get a birthday card from Melissa, it has the specific things that she admires about you. Very specific. You do this, you're like this, I love this. It's like, and I keep them. I got this whole friggin' drawer of cards from Melissa because sometimes when I get discouraged, I open that thing up. People need that. She gives touch, like hugs and kisses. She doesn't give, sissy hugs. She doesn't give like formality hugs. She'll squeeze you, squeeze a little bit of the air out of you. She wants you to know that she hugged you and you remember it. And I love that about my wife. That makes people feel like they matter. And it builds confidence because sometimes you got to be the mirror for somebody else. Be like, look, this is what I see in you. And encouragement does that. The third thing in your notes is experience. Experience. I have to say that I will step on some toes here in just a second. So hang on to your hats for a sec. Experience is so important for kids. And what the worst thing that takes away experience from kids is helicopter parenting. It kills it. It kills confidence. If you think, oh, my kids just aren't confident. Why aren't they confident? Let me just say, it's very possible it's because you are keeping them from having experiences because you're so worried about what might happen to them if they skin their knee, And what needs to be in a kid's life is enough rope to hurt themselves. Just saying. Like, I'm not saying you don't protect your kids. You have to protect your kids. That's your responsibility. I mean, if they're gonna walk out in front of a car, you get them, however it has to happen, into safety, right? 100%. But a lot of the times we're taking pretend scenarios and we're extrapolating them in our heads. And so then we're building all this safety around them so that they can't possibly ever get hurt by anyone or anything, which means they'll never have their own experiences. We gotta stop that. Get the sheltering out of the way. Our kids need to see and experience life. They need to take a risk and they need to skin their knee because that's how they're gonna learn. That's how they're gonna figure out what they're good at. That's how they're gonna figure out what's smart and what's not smart. That's how they're gonna do something that does work and then they're gonna know that it was because they did it. And then they're gonna have confidence. And I think this is so important. In Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, there's this verse and it says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. And I talked about last week because part of that is instilling character. Train up a child in the way they should go. Instill the character. Show them what they should be like. Model it. But part of it is that word in Hebrew, the way they should go, literally is according to their natural bent. And what it means is that it's like a bonsai tree. Think about it for a second. Anybody ever had a bonsai tree? Okay. Anybody know somebody with a bonsai tree? Okay. Anybody ever seen Karate Kid? Okay. Yeah. A bonsai tree, right? And it's like this little tree that kind of wiggles around and it like has these weird turns. But you got to notice that if you don't trim the little extra growth that's kind of coming off and going in a different direction, it's going to lose energy. It's going to diffuse the energy. You need to notice what direction that thing is going, and then you need to move the energy toward that direction. That's like bonsai tree parenting. I think it's very important. So you need to notice the kid's bent. Like, what are they good at? What do they love? What are their passions? What are their gifts? What are their talents? God has given, here's what it's not. It's not going, let the kids decide everything for themselves. Because what happens is, again, we got to go back to, we need structure, like what's right, what's wrong. We should never be condoning sin in the life of a kid. We should always be acknowledging when something crosses a line and making sure they understand what the consequences are. But this is different. This is about their personal bent, their God-given character and destiny, strengths. How do you notice those things? And then get out in front of that. And instead of protecting them from harm, you're clearing the path for them to be able to exercise their own giftedness and find some experience that then they get to rely on later. Again, my wife, literally a master of this kind of stuff. So in our house, one thing that has happened is we just had this kind of environment and opportunity for experience. And so our kids have done lots of stuff. We've found their vent and we have poured gas on it. Our oldest, Dawson, wanted to record an album with his cousin and friends when they were really young. And we're like, it's gonna cost how much per hour in the studio? What? And he's like, yeah. And so we're going, oh, see you later, Hawaii trip. All right, let's do this, you know? But we're gonna, let's invest in this because this is the direction that God is going. Our daughter, Caitlin, had this leadership gift in her and this desire to lead worship and to be a part of stuff like that. And so we're going, let's get you on stage. You know, let's get you lessons. Let's get you guitars. Let's get you where you need to go. Our youngest, Caleb, he has always had sort of an engineering mind. And so at 10 years old, he's an entrepreneurial thinker. So at 10 years old, he's like, Dad, I want to make some money. And, you know, I'm thinking like, okay, lemonade stand. You know, what are you going to do here? And he goes, no, I like to build stuff. And he goes, I want to build chairs and desks out of other people's used lumber and sell them. I'm like, all right. So we set up a little shop in the garage and he buys with his own money a nail gun and some other stuff. And he starts selling these chairs from other people's used lumber for like $35. And then the desks for $300 at 10 years old. And I'm like, can we split these profits? Because that's pretty good, you know? But what I love that, and I feel like so much credit to my wife for helping us think this way, is to go, let's let them fly. Are they ever gonna fall? Who's gonna pay for it when they fall? They are. But we're gonna keep them from doing any real damage to themselves. We're gonna be there cheering them on. They have to have experience. They have to develop that. Because confidence matters, you know? Think about it, environment, encouragement, experience. These things build confidence. And in 20 years, we're gonna be really glad that we did some investment in people. But if you pause right now and just look around for a minute, do you see any adults that lack confidence? Oh, it's like an epidemic, right? Pardon the expression, but we gotta get our crap together. We got to figure out how to build confidence in ourselves and then give it away to other people. Because if we don't turn this ship around, where will we be in 20 years when the president steps into the Oval Office? There's a lot at stake. And so I'm calling you up right now. I'm calling you out right now. I need you to step up. We need you to step up. We all need to step up to decide what kind of relationship are we gonna have with the next generation? What are we gonna be known for? Are we gonna be known like Pastor Ken as an elevator? Be known as a light bulb? I hope so. I'm intent on that. I want you to step up. I want you to serve. I mean, think about it. Next door right now, kids ministry's happening. Would you like to be a part of it? Would you like to help shape the next generation, give them some confidence, some character, some resilience? Think about this. I think gone should be the days where we look at our church and we say, oh, look at all the opportunities around us. We can't take advantage of some of them because we don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower. Wouldn't it be wonderful if it was like, oh, we're ready. And we're getting there, you guys. I want everybody to do me a favor right now. I want you to take your right foot and I want you to put it out like this. I'll do it sideways, you do it forward. Okay, you got your right foot out? You know what's beneath your right foot? If you'll hold it up like this, you know what's beneath your right foot? A gas pedal. We gotta go for it, you guys. It's time. It's time that we go for it. It's time that we go like, look, nothing's gonna stop us from making a difference in this generation. We are gonna be a light. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do whatever it takes. We're gonna show up. We're gonna serve, we're gonna sacrifice, we're gonna give financially. We will not fall asleep on the next generation. We'll be there for them. We'll raise them up with character, with confidence, with resilience, because in 20 years, they're gonna be really, really glad that we did. I want you to bow your heads with me right now because I think God's working in your heart like he is in mine. And there's probably somebody in your mind that you need to take ownership for influencing. And maybe, for you got to go to work on yourself first. I mean, we all do. Like, what does your character look like? What does your confidence look like? How can you ask God to build that in you? Maybe there's been something that you've been dealing with your whole life and it has just eroded your own sense of confidence. It's time to let God help you with that. Because until you have your TJ moment, everyone in your life is going to suffer. And the sooner that you acknowledge that, the sooner God sends your TJ to you. You have that moment. The light turns on for you. And I think that's really important. And my prayer is that God would do that for you today. And also my prayer for you is that you will be really, really, really clear about who is in your circle that you influence. And that you'll be really, really, really committed to doing whatever it takes to make a difference in their life. There's a verse that I want to read to you. And I just think this could be the motto of the next generation. What if it was? Philippians 4:13, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. I mean, what if your kids, that was their motto? Maybe you're a teacher in a classroom. What if every kid, that's what I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Giant, no problem. Bullying, no problem. Financial trouble, no problem. I got this. Through Christ, I got this. Oh man, I want that so much for our kids. Because that is not cockiness, that is not arrogance, that is God-given confidence. Because when he is with you, nothing is impossible. If you're here today and you're like, I just don't have this connection with God that you guys are talking about, but I want to. Did you know that the beginning, the first place, the real light bulb in our life is Jesus Christ? He's the one that forgives us our sins. He's gone before us and paid for our mistakes on the cross. And he invites us to step into his family, to be one of his kids. He tells us he's going to be with us wherever we go. He's fighting for us. It's like David said, God's going to be with me. I know he's going to deliver me. If you want that kind of relationship with the God of the universe, Jesus said, only believe. That's what he said. He said, if anyone believes in me, I'm going to give them the power to become the children of God. So, how about it? If you have never said yes to Jesus, this is your moment right now, whether you're online or you're right here with us, tell Jesus right now that you want to be his kid. Tell him that you're sorry for your sins. Tell him that you need his forgiveness. Tell him that you want his leadership. Ask him to give you his spirit. The Bible says, if anyone calls on the name of the Lord, they will be saved. He wants that for you more than anything. Father, we thank you for loving us, for sending Jesus for us. Thank you for the examples that you've given us of what confidence really looks like and why we can and must step forward into it. We pray for the kids that we have an influence with, that you would allow us to be that light for them. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Whew. I want to ask if you'd take a next step today. And you got a green connection card in your hands, hopefully, or you got the app, or you've got the connection form online. But I would love to know what your next step is so we can help you. Maybe today your next step is I'm beginning my relationship with Jesus. Maybe it is I want to be baptized on October 15th. Maybe you want help growing spiritually. Maybe you're like, hey, I want to be a part of force here. I want to prioritize my giving by making it recurring. I mean, this is such a big part of what we do because, all ministry takes money. And so God has blessed our church with people that are part of that, and we want to continue to see that accelerate. Maybe you want to join the Dream Team. That's the movers and shakers of our church. We're getting together next Sunday for our Dream Team Summit. But we'd love for you to take a next step because we want to be on this journey with you. And so go ahead and fill those cards out. Get ready to pop them in the buckets. If we'll have the team come forward to pass our buckets, you can put your connection cards in there. You can give that way. You could also give online or on the app. And so be a part of things today. Because we want to encourage you to take your next step. Also want you to know that we have a prayer team. We can go ahead and pass those buckets. We have a prayer team that'll be up front after the service. And maybe God's kind of stirred you up. You got something you're dealing with. You need some help. You can pray with somebody today. But I'm excited to to have a song that we're going to sing together. But before that, Bart's got something that he wants to share with us.
Check. Oh, yeah. This morning, John Carn, who was my youth pastor when I was 16 years old, posted something on Facebook. And usually I'm going through and loving his stuff and everything. He is a pastor now down in California, but he posted like this little meme thing that I thought I'd share because it really kind of piggybacks on what Gabe was talking about. It says, don't just attend church, love the church, serve the church, give through the church, invite people to church, worship Jesus with the church, encourage the church, participate in the church, pray for the church, and most importantly, be the church. I thought that was like really kind of timely, really cool. It's literally the last thing I saved on my phone. So as Gabe was speaking the message, I was like, you know what? Sometimes things just line up because he lines them up for a reason. So let's all stand and sing together. It's a song called Stand in Your Love. The chorus of the song is very repetitive for a reason. To just really take it to heart right this morning. Apply it to your life. When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, oh, I won't be shaken. I won't be shaken. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My Thanks for worshiping with us this morning. We look forward to seeing you next week.